as Cameron and Conrad and everybody is saying, the world is completely upside down, inside out, and locked down, right? And oil is in a negative. I was wondering yesterday, like, do you actually get a refund now when you go to the petrol station? Do you like they give you cash, like fill up and they give you some cash? And like, I'm gonna freaking try that actually. So I've been studying chaos and complexity and all these crazy times actually for the last kind of 12 to 15 years. Ironically, just after my daughter was born, I started studying chaos and complexity. In the week, my wife and everybody's trying to homeschool now. So apparently it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a vineyard to like homeschool one. So, but I believe that in all of my time looking at chaos, complexity, all these crazy times, that there's really, really, truly a gift hidden within them. That there's treasure within the shadows, that chaos actually can bring a gift. So that's what I want to talk to you about. So there's this very famous quote by Rahm Emanuel that some people claim that it was done, that was actually said by Winston Churchill, but a couple of people have said it. And he said, you never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it is an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. So this is like the core of what I want to talk to you about, that we are in this kind of crazy time, this chaotic time, this really complex time. And I want to talk to you about what to do within that space. Like, what are the gifts that that space brings? What are the opportunities that they bring? And what you can actually do and get like really practical about it. So the first thing that's important is to name it. Like human beings, since the beginning of time, we have this thing with naming stuff. I mean, we name freaking everything. We obviously name our kids, we name rivers, we name mountains, we name cities, we name TV shows, we name everything. Because language is our like primary ability to draw boundaries around things, to say that something, it's this thing and it's not that thing. It actually makes sense, starts to make sense out of chaos. So the first thing to do is to name it. So this time that we're talking about is an in-between time. It's a time like when we've left the old world, but we've not yet arrived at the new. A lot of people are talking about the new normal and how it will not be like the old. Like Ryan is going to be talking about that later, which is pretty awesome. So like it's this kind of this weird in-between, kind of shadowy, kind of chaotic and complex time. It's like that thing, you know, when you finished varsity, for example, right? And you pack up your little Uno or your like Taz or whatever you drove back in the day, and you like head off to East London for your first job. Like, so that whole time, from the time that you've left varsity or school, all the time towards till you start at the new university, that whole thing is this in-between time, right? And or these in-between times, these chaotic times are sometimes caused by trauma. Like now, for example, we're all experiencing a bit of trauma. And it's like that time when somebody that you love very, very dearly passes away, right? And you, from the moment that you actually get that news and you have the funeral and everybody comes and visits and to bring the condolences and everything, and all the way up until the time when you've started a new life without that person, that whole time is this type of time. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? If you do, then like hit a 1 for yes in the chat or hit a 2 for no. But I'm pretty sure most people can resonate with that and say, yes, I know what that feels like and what that is. So there's a name for a time like this. It's called, and I really want you to like burn this into your memory because it'll help you just to frame it. It's called liminal space, right? So liminal space is a term defined most famously by a guy named Victor Turner, and he was an anthropologist working in the 1960s with initiation ceremonies. And this word liminal, it actually means threshold, like doorway, like an in-between time when you've left the old, but you've not yet arrived at the new. And this is perfectly seen like in initiation ceremonies when they remove the young people, say, from the mother and then take them into an in-between time and then to help them to enter into the next stage of life, right? So just about in every single culture, we have these initiation ceremonies, and we have got like really formal and beautiful ancient ones. And then we have really stupid ones, like down a bottle of whiskey on your first day at varsity, or like, which is awful. So both of these kind of liminal spaces, these manufactured liminal spaces, all have one thing in common, and that's pain. Like there's always pain within an initiation ceremony, and there's always pain within a chaotic time, within a liminal space. And this is really like so profoundly important. Like, for example, in an initiation ceremony, you have like, circumcision, or walking across coals, or being put on fire ants, or scarring, or fasting for like a week, or something like that. And we take people up into the mountains for like a 4 days retreat, and they have to fast and only drink water in order to help them to get to a new stage of life, right? So, or you down the bottle of whiskey and you have a freaking headache, or you're shamed and you're experiencing emotional pain. And the question here is, like, how are we all, as businesses and individuals, because I believe those two things are very, very similar. Like a business for me also has like a psyche and a way of being in the world. And these things correlate really, really interestingly and really well. So when we experience this pain, it's like, how do we respond to that? Because that's like the biggest, probably one of the biggest things we need to take into account is how do we respond to it? Not just to react to it in this kind of classic fight, flight, or freeze mode, but to rather respond to it from a conscious kind of calm place. Because then these liminal spaces can give us the biggest chance for positive change. Like, in fact, like the only chance. I mean, I'm pretty sure each of you, if you think back about the liminal spaces you've experienced in your life, just in your personal life and in your business, those were the times where you changed for the better. Like, or there was the biggest chance for you to change for the better. So Viktor Frankl, the famous psychiatrist that worked in Vienna, when there was a mental hospital and the suicide rate was like sky high, and they asked them, what do they have to do with these patients that keep on, killing themselves? And he said, just ask them one question. Give them one question to discuss, just one. And that question was, what good is coming out of my hardship? That's it. And the suicide rate in that hospital dropped to 0. So here's 2 pictures I want to show you quickly of liminal spaces, right? So these are like 2 classic ones. The one on the right you'll probably recognize, right? And the one on the left was taken just after the World Trade Center collapsed and was attacked in the States. So both of these pictures show you images of what a liminal space is. Now, they do very, very specific things. They flatten hierarchies. Like, who in these pictures can you see who's wealthy? Like, it's even difficult to see gender. It's difficult to see race. It's very difficult to see any sort of status symbol. And that's exactly what a liminal space does. It flattens hierarchies. And then the second thing, like, it builds community. And we're seeing that already, how people are pooling together, working together, helping one another out. Like, it builds community like nothing else. And the third thing that it does, like, it reveals what is rotten. So it like tears away all the bright, shiny little cover, and then you can see underneath, oh my word, I never noticed this thing in my business isn't actually working, or this thing in my life is actually bad for me, or this thing is actually just been sucking money for the last 5 years. We need to get rid of it, or we need to repair it, right? So there's like 4 little things that I want you to do, like the way that we can deal with a liminal space, we can deal with a chaotic time in our personal lives and in our businesses. If you're in the eventing industry or wherever, like, these all apply across the board, which is why I love them so much. They're really simple. So the first thing you need to do is stop, right? Sounds really simple. Stop. Stopping is like the great gift, right? So Theodore Roosevelt famously said, it's like what leaders need is nerve control, cool-headedness, and that you can only get with practice. This ability to kind of stand back, like for one moment. So do this with me, right? So sit on your chair, obviously solid, you can feel it. I've got a bit of a bouncy chair. So I want you to take one conscious breath, right? So in through your nose, and then hold it, and then breathe out. Right? Congratulations, that was your first meditation. So you just did it, and you managed to go through the whole thing without losing your focus. It's pretty damn cool. So, and you immediately feel better, right? Immediately feel calmer because you're getting out of that fight and flight response. So there's a great story, which I love. It's like one of my favorite stories. So the Buddha was sitting underneath a tree, as one does when you're the Buddha, sitting underneath a tree and teaching his students. And as he was teaching them, there's a demon named Mara, and Mara showed up. Mara is the demon of death. There's a little slide for you so you can see what Mara looks like. It's pretty freaking scary with a crown of, I think it looks like skulls. Some of them look like skulls of puppies. It's scary. So Mara is the demon of death, right? So Buddha was teaching his students, and then the demon of death walked in, and his disciples freaked out. They went, Mara is here, Mara is here, Mara is here. Like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And the Buddha looked up, looked Mara straight in the eye and said, I see you, Mara. Let's have tea. Like, and that, the beauty of that story, the lesson of that story is to feel the pain, to not avoid the pain, but actually to sit down and like have a conversation with it. So when I do longer sessions with these, we do like a whole practice, which is called Let's Have Tea, helping people to kind of go through this emotion, because you need to go through it. The pain is very, very, very important. And it reminds you, like in an initiation ceremony as well, that you are strong. Why you are doing this in the first place, like who you are. That's really important. The second thing you need to do is to observe, to look around you. So once you've calmed down, once you've felt the pain and remembered who you are and how strong you actually are, and that you've actually done stuff like this before that's even way more scary, then the second thing you do is to observe. Like, what do you see? That's the first rule of also in self-defense or any kind of martial arts, is to look and see. Like, which rules have been broken? Who are the new leaders? Because leaders tend to show up in liminal spaces that you didn't notice before, like the real ones. The ones that were just kept there with money and power, they tend to fall away very quickly. Like, who are the new leaders? What is rotten? What is around you? What can you use, right? So I want to do a little kind of exercise with you. I want you to get ready with your keyboard and type with me. I want to see who gets this first, right? And it will also a little bit reveal how old you are. So, like, what is this guy's name? You got it? It's MacGyver. Remember MacGyver? But yeah, so you got it. Who got it first there in the comments? Oh, it's like a whole thing. Tanya got it first. Hey, Tanya, that's awesome. MacGyver. MacGyver was like this amazing guy who used like a piece of toilet paper. Well, now toilet paper is difficult to get. Like a piece of toilet paper and like a match and made a phone, right? He used whatever is around him. And there's a French word for this, which I love. It's called bricolier. And a bricolier is somebody that makes stuff out of what they found around them. And there's an ancient saying that says, whoever the gods wish to destroy, they give unlimited resources. So if you find somebody complaining about not having enough resources, just imagine MacGyver. Like that's what we all need to be now, is MacGyver. Like, what's around you? What can you actually use to build a tool to help your clients? Because human beings, we are tool makers. That's what we do, right? We make tools. Everything, if you look around you, your computer, your phone, your keyboard, every single thing is a tool. We make tools to fix problems. And that's what business is. And its very essence. Business is not about making money. It's not about becoming famous. It's not about status or anything. It's about solving problems. And we've forgotten that. And the business that will make it now in this time is the one that can solve the problem. Right? So then the third thing you need to do is to act, right? Because action trumps everything, every single thing. In a chaotic space, we're dealing with unknown unknowns, right? We don't know what we don't know. And then action reveals the unknown effects of your choices, right? So the most powerful thing we can do is to make a choice based on who we are, about what our why is, our motivation as a human being and as an organization. Like, why are you doing this job in the first place? Why did you begin this business in the first place? So in Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl wrote, man does not simply exist, but always decides what his existence will be, what he will become in the next moment. And he wrote this in the concentration camp. So we're not there yet, right? I hope not. By that same token, every human being has the freedom to change at any moment. And that's what we do. We are tool makers. We solve problems, right? So the last thing you need to do is to reflect. Now, this is really important, and this is one of the most neglected points, is to sit down and look back over the past week and try and find the pattern, to feel your way through it, not just in a spreadsheet kind of a way, what made the most money, but what do you feel intuitively that worked? Like, what were the positives? What were the negatives? You sit down with your team and go, let's feel through this. Like, what do you feel? How do you feel where we should go? Because chaos and liminal space times are unpredictable and uncertain, and they need to be approached also in an intuitive kind of way. Now, here's the thing. You need to find the pattern, because a pattern brings you back to a new normal, to a normality. You need to find the new pattern. If I press this button, this thing is going to work, right? So here's the thing. Whoever gets the pattern first, whichever business finds that pattern first, wins. That's the deal. Then I want to leave you with this, just with this last kind of thought, right? My son is a wrestler, right? So he's been wrestling since he was 3 years old. That's him on the right hand side. His trainer there used to be Garinel. So I've got Garinel's number on my phone, like, so don't mess with me. So in wrestling, there's a saying: whenever you feel stuck, when you're like in a hole, then you've got like this guy on the left, the arm around you, and you know, like everything is all over the place. Like, you're always just a couple of small moves away from being free. Limited resources, limited time. That's when innovation happens, when the pressure is on. That's why innovation happens always during times of war, during times of uncertainty, chaos, and unpredictability, because these can be great, great, great gifts. And I want to encourage you that you can do this. This is what humans do. We adapt, we change, we move. We're not freaking trees that just die when there's a drought. We make a plan. And we all can do this. Like, you can do this. We can make the tools that we need to solve the problems that we have. And now we have more problems than we know what to do with. So there's like so many opportunities to fix stuff. So go out and fix stuff.